Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into a source that takes a fascinating angle on learning language. It argues that something as simple as describing your daily routine is actually, well, a super powerful way to build those foundational communication skills. It's not just about the words themselves. It's about the strategy behind it.
Exactly. And the source really frames it well. It's saying that mastering these simple everyday actions gives you this immediate practical toolkit. It boosts confidence right away and provides knowledge that's really transferable. It's quite clever, actually.
It really is. So, okay, let's unpack the core idea from the source. What is a daily routine? Well, according to this, it's simply the series of things you do every day. Real basic stuff.
Yeah, like waking up, brushing your teeth.
Eating breakfast, maybe going to work or school, coming home. The rhythm of the day. The source calls this real, everyday vocabulary.
And what's strategic, what's really interesting here, is how the source explains these simple steps are actually powerful building blocks. They help you get started with more complex communication later on. It kind of cuts down on that feeling of being overwhelmed when you first start learning.
It makes it manageable.
Yeah.
Less intimidating.
Yeah. Quick wins.
So the source gives this really clear, simple structure. Something like, I wake up at 6 a.m., I brush my teeth, I take a shower, just listing it out. I get dressed, I eat breakfast, then I go to work. Super direct.
That simplicity is key, isn't it? It's something you can use almost immediately.
Totally. Okay, now this is where the source gets really practical, the essential vocabulary. It's like, here's your toolkit, the verbs you need.
The high-frequency stuff.
Exactly. Things like wake up, get up, brush my teeth, take a shower, get dressed, then eat breakfast, go to school, or go to work, study, take a break.
Keep going, yeah.
Eat lunch, come home, cook dinner, watch TV, read a book, and then go to bed, fall asleep.
It's a really focused list, very intentional.
It is, and the source talks about repetition here, right?
Right. It really emphasizes repeating these specific verbs. But it's not just, mindless drilling. The source kind of implies that this repetition within the context of your own routine helps it stick. It moves from just memorizing words to actually internalizing them, making them feel natural, like learning any skill, really.
Makes sense. So you've got the actions, the verbs. How does the source suggest making it, more descriptive?
Time.
Time phrases, exactly, telling people when you do these things. The source gives those useful general ones like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and at night.
The broad strokes.
But then it also adds specific times, which is crucial, like at 6 a.m. or at 12 p.m. noon, or maybe at 9:30 p.m.
And connecting this back to the bigger picture, adding time gives the whole thing structure. It turns a simple list of actions into more of a narrative, you see.
Yeah, it adds context.
Exactly. So I take a shower becomes I take a shower in the morning, or, I watch TV in the evening.
Or even more precise, like
Yeah.
the source says, I go to work at 10 a.m., I go to bed at 11 p.m.
It just paints a much clearer picture.
Okay, so to make this all concrete, the source gives us this great example of Vinod's daily routine. It really pulls everything together in a story you can follow.
Yeah.
Let's walk through it.
Okay.
So according to the source, Vinod says, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, pretty standard. I brush my teeth and take a cold shower. Bit brave there with a cold shower.
Yeah.
Then I drink a glass of warm water and meditate for 10 minutes. Okay. At 7, I do a short workout. At 8, I eat my breakfast, usually eggs and toast.
Nice, simple breakfast.
I start work at 9 and take a break at 11:30. I have lunch at 1 p.m. After work, I go for a walk. I eat dinner at 8 p.m. I watch some TV or read a book. Then I go to bed at 10:30.
See, it's detailed enough to feel real, but the language is still pretty straightforward, right? That's why it works so well as a blueprint. The source uses this narrative to make the concept stick. For you listening, it's like, okay, I can see how that works. I could try that for my own day.
It's a great template. Now, the source is also smart about pointing out common mistakes, things that often trip learners up.
Ah, yes, the pitfalls.
Right, like saying, I wake at 7 o'clock. The source corrects it too. I wake up at 7 o'clock. That little word matters.
Phrasal verbs can be tricky.
Totally. Or another one, I go in home. Incorrect. The source says it should just be, I go home. Simple.
Direct object, no preposition needed there.
Exactly. And the classic one, forgetting the as for he or she. like
Yeah.
saying he wake up at 6. No, the source reminds us it's he wakes up at 6.
And, it makes sense why the source highlights these specific errors. They often touch on fundamental grammar points, like those phrasal verbs or third-person singular as, which can be different in other languages.
Right. Things people commonly get wrong.
Yeah. And the source apparently used things like fill in the blanks, like I up at 7 o'clock, and little quizzes to help nail these down. It's about moving past just understanding to actually using it accurately. Precision matters.
It does. And finally, the source doesn't just leave you there. It gives you, like, homework.
Haha. The practical application.
A challenge. Write down your daily routine in English. Keep it simple. Maybe aim for 10 sentences.
Good starting point.
But then it adds another layer. Say it out loud.
Yeah.
Like you're just telling a friend. Maybe even record yourself. That helps massively with pronunciation, with confidence.
No, absolutely. That active practice, actually producing the language and then listening back, that's invaluable. It really drives home the point that knowledge is best when you actually use it, when you apply it. And this method, this whole approach, the source outlines, it's not just for language. It's a solid strategy for learning almost anything. Engage with it.
Totally agree. Well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into this source's take on mastering daily routines. We look at why it's a great starting point, the key vocabulary, adding time for detail, learning from that toVinod example.
And avoiding those common mistakes.
Exactly.
And really, the core message from the source seems to be about consistency and mindset. Speak every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, small steps. And crucially, don't be afraid of mistakes. Every attempt gets you closer. That's a powerful idea.
It really is.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about how this structured way of learning a routine mirrors learning other things. What small daily actions could help you get better at something else you care about? And importantly, how could embracing the mistakes you'll inevitably make actually speed up your progress? Something to chew on.
Definitely something to think about. A great framework for learning. And if you're wondering where these skills lead next, well, our source hints at our next topic. Looks like we might be diving into describing people and personality, building on these foundations.
Sounds interesting.
It does. We'll see you then for the next deep dive.